realistic, and you've got to take a wider view at the same time. But why were your expectations much higher for Spurs this season when they finished 17th last time round?
Because it was always going to improve, and that's where they are, 10th in the league. They're only 4 points off the top four, so that's where you have to be realistic. Did I put them in the top four this season? I didn't. I would think probably if you look going for the top six, was that an aim? That was realistic. With Thomas Frank going in, and we're going back to the last 4 or 5 years, what he's done at Brentford. We can't all of a sudden go, Thomas Frank isn't a good coach. He is, because we've seen it for years and years, and that's what's given him the opportunity to go and work at a big football club. But we know what that brings. That brings expectation, it brings scrutiny. And this is probably the most challenging time he's had as a manager, certainly since he's been in England, because you go back to his time at Brentford, everything's been a smooth incline. You get to the Premier League, everyone tipped him to go down. They stay up comfortably. He's had players that have way overachieved. He's got the best out of them. And this group of players at the moment at Spurs, they aren't playing to the levels that I expect them to be, and nor are the fans.
Do you think we're seeing the Thomas Frank print on this team, because compared to the one that we saw at Brentford, for example?
I think that, you know, he had a lot of time at Brentford to build almost like a cultural architect in terms of how he, you know, brought Brentford up from the Championship, established themselves as a Premier League club, really sort of self-sufficient, secure, sustainable club, and by that I mean the players, and Dawson alluded to it there, the players that he developed, that not overachieved, they were performing to a really high level every week with, you know, resources in comparison to other teams, clubs in the Premier League. So he did a super job. He gets the move. But what worried me about the performance today was it was hard to identify what Spurs are trying to do on the ball. We spoke about in the first half, they played without a left winger. So they played lopsided. They wanted the width to come from Udogie, which is, you know, marauding left-back, which he is. But when the ball was going out to him in the first half, he had no support underneath the ball. They were losing possession, the ball turning over, and that's what Fulham wanted. Second half addressed it, brought on, you know, changed the system, 4-2-3-1. They had more natural width, get back into the game. But it was difficult for me to look at it and go, how are they trying to play? What are the patterns of play? And I go back to Brentford, Thomas Frank at Brentford, and it's really clear he had a framework, but he also was flexible within that. And that's why he was able to get results in football matches. He tried it last weekend in the London derby against Arsenal, back five, didn't work. Arsenal were absolutely fantastic. And then midweek, changed to a back four against PSG. And Thomas Frank, after the game, he kept it really positive. He said he saw a response from his team. You know, he saw a bit of personality. He saw, you know, a little bit of excitement that got him up for this game against Fulham. And then the start that Fulham had today, it just took all the enthusiasm away from Tottenham, and they had a mountain to climb. So I think I look at it from a footballing, you know, clean footballing perspective and go, what are Tottenham trying to do under Thomas Frank? And I agree with Dawson, he needs way more time because of the manager and the reputation he is. He's a top manager. And I don't mean that in terms of managing a top club and winning massive trophies, because he's not done that yet. But he's proven what he can do with time. And I think Tottenham, it's difficult because I understand the expectation, but he does need time to build what he wants to do.
Let's take a look at what they've got coming up, because that might give us an idea. How they've got on, so far, and how they found themselves in this position. And you look at the amount of red on the board there. You look at maybe, as you said, the draw with Manchester United, but questions over the performance in that one. Where do you think, because there are games in there, certainly at times in that game against PSG in midweek, where we've seen positive signs for Tottenham. Where do you think that the fans have got particularly frustrated? What are the results that stand out?
I look at the Newcastle away in the Carabao Cup. That was an opportunity where you think, can they go and win a trophy? Really poor performance. I look at the positives on Copenhagen,
particularly given how good they're away for.
Yeah, and it was a poor performance. It really was. Manchester United, I look at that. The first half was as similar to today, but you get a response. They're going 2-1 up and then concede a last-minute goal. So sloppy, so avoidable. Players not doing the job. PSG, he went with a four in midfield, solid four. No real creativity, but he was solid. They put a fight, lost 5-3, no problem. You can take it in today. And he's gone with a three in midfield with Bergvall, Gray and Pellegrini. And I'm thinking, where's that real creativity going to come from? Probably only kudos, you know. But then you look at the go to Newcastle on Tuesday, Brentford at home next weekend. That is huge, absolutely huge against his former team. And then you've got Slavia Prague in the Champions League, Nottingham Forest. The games come thick and fast. The only one he can focus on now is the next one and trying to get a performance. They went to Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, poor performance. Now they're back there on Tuesday night, and he has to have something. You've got to try and find some belief and try and find a formula that he's going to get the best out of the players. I think his best formation is the way he ended, with a 4-2-3-1. 2 wide players, it was Odegaard and Kudos late on. Xavi Simons in the 10. They have to try and get Xavi Simons in the team and try and find some form. They spent all that money in the summer. He's been flicking in and out of the team. And for a player to get confidence and belief, you have to play consistently. I've been one of those players. Never went for £51 million, don't get me wrong. But when you spend that kind of money, you have to get them on the pitch and they have to be creative and they have to help the team. And unfortunately, at this moment in time, he's still tweaking it a little bit too much.
And there has been a lot of frustration, and not for the first time this season. We saw Spurs fans letting that not quite spill over, but certainly come to the surface at the final whistle. Pedro Porro with some angry words there. I'm not quite sure who they're directed at, but it's clear that this is getting to the players. I mean, we've seen it before.
Do you know what? Not just at Spurs. I see players, when I played, players tend to go around and have a little clap. You do it individually. It's coming in recent years. They do it collectively. When things are going well, it's easy to go around and clap and the fans want to be there. I appreciate fans paying an awful lot of money, but it's hard for the players as well when you're going to go around and clap, and some fans are appreciative, some fans are giving you stick because of your performance. And you see Pedro Porro there, he was unhappy about something that had gone on.
Yeah, you can understand the frustration from both sides. You can understand with Spurs fans, and Thomas Frank called out the booing of Vicario in the middle of the game because of his error in coming out of his area and allowing that goal from Harry Wilson. So he called that out. But you can understand the frustration of the fans who aren't seeing the performances or the results that they want. You can also understand the performance of some, or the reaction of some of the players.
Yeah, and I think with the Vicario, the booing, like I understand it, but I also think Thomas Frank has to come out and protect his number one goalkeeper. He absolutely does need to do that. And you don't even need to go through that in the analysis room. You know that watching that goal back, Vicario just needs to put the ball out of play, diffuse the situation, get back in your goal, and then there's no problem. But that amounted to a problem, and then the fans get on his back. And like you say, I completely understand it from both ends. The other one with Porro, I don't like that from him. And the reason I say that is because as a footballer, you've got to look at yourself first and go, you know, the old cliche, look in the mirror. And you have to go, what am I doing? How am I performing? And I just think it's all for show. I really do. I think that needs to happen in the locker room, because that just adds fuel to the fire. It just adds fuel into a fire, into a cauldron, which doesn't need any extras added to it right now.
The Vicario one, though, I look at that where you go, he makes a mistake. It's a clear mistake. But then he'll realise that. It doesn't do it on purpose. And then fans booing him, we've still got another... There was 85 minutes left to play, so how is he going to feel? It's negativity. And I know I see frustrations from both sides. But then Pedro Porro then goes, why am I going to go around and clap when I've been booed?